It's Coal Rush Week, and the Mountaineers are back home and looking to snap a four-game losing skid. We're going to preview that matchup with the Horned Frogs here today on the Walk Thru GameDay Show.
Look at what happens when you're consistent, again, in all three phases of the game. Look at what happens when you're focused and you don't have the mental breakdown and the MAs that prevent you from doing exactly what they did in Stillwater.
Rich Rodriguez has a strong backing. Ken Kendrick, Pat McAfee, Ike Moore, so on and so forth. There's a lot of people with deep pockets that are ready to help this football team win.
Your lightning in the bottle guy is your lightning in your bottle guy. So sometimes you can't put him in that role because he's going to get beat up and nicked up throughout the course of the game, which does take away from his flashiness and his ability to make big plays.
Give me the Mountaineers, baby.
But yeah, this rivalry it's a lot of fun. It has to keep going.
Let's go Mountaineers all day, every day. Let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another week here on the Walk Thru GameDay Show. I'm your host, Schuyler, Callihan, and that is the co-host, the legendary Mountaineer running back, Eugene Napoleon. We are entering game number 8. Yes, we're going to be here every single week, folks. It doesn't matter how many times we come off a blowout loss that we've had to sit on for a couple of days, but we're going to be here for all 12 of these games. And if miraculously, I don't know why I'm speaking about this because it's a waste of time, but if they miraculously get to a bowl game, we'll have one for that too. But yeah, I think we're going to be stopping right after that final game against Texas Tech, Gene. So anywho, here's today's show layout. So quarterback of the future, is he on the roster? We've seen a handful of guys now at this point. We're maybe even getting into a walk-on, getting some reps this week. We'll talk about that. Some overs and unders with a handful of games left. We got some different things that we can talk about here. We'll make our predictions on over and unders. We got our weekly trivia question. And then after the break, we'll get into our Napoleon's Dynamite players to watch, game preview, and closing out the show with our Pick'em segment. Make sure you stick to the end there and pick your 5 games. And if you go 5 for 5, you'll get Eugene's autograph as always. So, Gene, let's start here with this quarterback situation. And to me, it's really hard to make a decision on this, or at least lean one way or another, if there is a future answer on the roster, because you just have so much, I don't even know what to call it. I mean, just bad football around them, right? It's just a bad ecosystem that these quarterbacks are in. Poor offensive line play. The running game has been kind of hit and miss. The wide receivers have not played well. The tight ends have not played well. But we've seen some flashes out of both Scotty Fox and Khalil Wilkins. Last week for both of them just was not a game that neither one of them really want to talk about much or reflect on. But from what we've seen, do you feel like either of those two guys in particular can be the guy in 2026?
It depends, Scholar. It really does. I think they're both talented, and obviously they're young enough where you're seeing some growth in both of these guys. I don't think the sample size is big enough.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, to really determine that. Do they both have natural skill sets to play in this particular offense, this style of offense? Yeah, they do. They both do. Do they? We don't know if they possess all of it because they haven't been put in a position. First off, this style of offense, you have to have a really good running game. We haven't seen that consistently enough to say this is going to be all of the tools and all of the things that a particular quarterback needs to be successful in Rich's offense. So it's hard to say. Do I believe either one of them can run this offense? If you had consistent offensive line play, really good, running back play, and you add, either one of these quarterbacks in, I believe that. I really do. But here's the deal. You're going to always out recruit or over recruit that room.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you always over recruit or out recruit, really any key position, but especially at the quarterback position, especially at the running back position, especially at the wide receiver position, you're going to go and get the best possible talent that you can get at any one of those three positions. So it would not surprise me if for Christmas,
saying to come a little early.
okay, it won't, if that's on the list, if Santa brings 2 or 3 quarterbacks a call, that would not surprise me, because that's the nature of that position. It's also the nature of this style of offense.
I would have to 1000% agree with you, because when you end a season like this, you can't enter next season, regardless of whether the root of the issue is the quarterback play or not. You can't go into next year with those same guys. You just can't. And I think you're going to have a veteran presence. Nico's apparently going to the portal. He hasn't officially said anything. The portal doesn't open until at the end of the year, so that's not an official thing just yet. But assuming he does, Jalen Henderson graduating, Max Brown hasn't played much yet, so does he think about going somewhere else? You're going to need a veteran guy in that room, but that doesn't mean that Khalil or Scotty can't be the guy in 26. But to me, I think personally, you almost need a bridge. You need a bridge to one of these two young pups to take it over, whether that's in 27 or 28. Now, whether those guys hang around that long, I don't know, because it's not the same as what it was 10, 15 years ago, where if you did bring in a transfer and you wanted to kind of be that bridge, those guys would sit and develop and they'd be fine. Now, if you do that, they might think, oh, I got to go somewhere else now. So, I don't know, but I don't think you can enter next season with those same guys. I believe Scotty Fox probably has the higher ceiling of the two, just because I think he's a more dynamic passer. He's got a better touch, and I think he's just got an overall better, not only better ceiling, but I think his floor is much higher too. Now, Khalil, I like the athleticism. I like what he can do in the run game. I just haven't seen enough in the pass game to make me believe that he can be the guy as soon as next fall. It's not to say he can't, but there's got to be a lot of room for improvement there. But
Right.
what do you think the odds are? Let's go with this. The odds that the starting quarterback in week 1 next year is a transfer or one of those two guys. Where are you putting your money? Because I know I'm probably going to go with the transfer.
I've probably, if I'm a betting man, that's probably where I would put my money. Yeah, because not only, first off, and that's a good point of reference about having a veteran, presence in that room. You definitely need that. If you look at most of the successful programs that are in the top 10 right now, they're veteran quarterbacks.
Yep.
Whether they grew up in the system where they are, or if they was brought in from someplace else. And I think there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about trial by fire. And I would think, to your point, you cannot go into next season after coming off of this season and not be sure at the quarterback position. It has to be your guy. You have to be sure your guy coming in the next year. There is no buts about that. You have to be, because this year's, so far it is what it is. And to say that West Virginia is underachieving is, yeah.
And with Khalil, I mean, it's not like these two guys have a lot of difference. I mean, Khalil's only 1 year older than Scotty, but if you do bring another quarterback, even if it's a senior, you're talking about another year where he's going to have to wait to be the guy. I don't know if that's something he'd be willing to do. I don't know. But in Scotty's case, I think you could look at it like, look, we're going to bring in maybe a senior quarterback who's got 1 year of eligibility left that can hold down the fort, can kind of mentor you along. And maybe next year, Scotty can take that redshirt year. He's already burned past the 4 games this year, so he can't do it this year. You can redshirt next year. Maybe you bring in another, like you said, you may be bringing in 2 quarterbacks. And that way you have a steady presence as a backup. You have, again, maybe Max Brown still here. You got some freshmen coming in, but you'd like to maybe give Scotty next year that opportunity to sit and really actually learn rather than being thrown into the wolves. maybe that's something they consider. I don't know. But I think skill set wise, they're both capable, but
True.
they both need a little bit more help around them, obviously. I mean, that's first and foremost. And secondly, I think Khalil needs to take a step as a passer. And I think really for Scotty, it's just the game's just got to slow way, way, way down for him. And we'll
Right.
talk more about that later on in the show when we get into our preview. Let's go and get into some overs and unders, Gene. I manufacture these myself, so don't be looking on FanDuel for these. This is a completely Schuyler Callihan sports book thing here. Um, so let's start with the quarterback position. I had these out of order, but I'm going to go with the quarterbacks first since we're on the quarterback discussion. Over under 1.5 different starting quarterbacks the rest of this way. Where are you going?
Mm. Over.
I
Over.
I can't disagree. I
Oh,
mean, I almost put this at 2.5, but I thought,
yeah.
could you really start three? I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Maybe Jalen Henderson comes back.
You know
Maybe
why?
Max
You
Brown
got
gets
to
a
see.
start, but
Because not. I hate to say it this way. What do you have to lose?
yeah,
You have to see. You have to figure out what you have.
yeah, yeah. And if you're looking at the two young guys in particular, Khalil's questionable this week. Doesn't sound like he's going to be in position to start. But if we're just going from this point moving forward, obviously all those guys have started, but this point moving forward, it's hard for me to see, considering what we just talked about with the bad ecosystem, that Scotty's going to go in there this week against TCU, assuming he does start, does enough to win the job, and then he's the guy moving forward. So maybe I should have put this to it. This is why I'm not a bookie. Okay, so yeah, I'll go with you with the over there. I'll go with two. Now things are going to start to get a little harder. Let's go with wins.
Mhm.
Over under 0.5. So do they get a win at some point the rest of the season, these next 5 games? Do you see one on the schedule?
I do see one on the schedule.
And
I do.
it might be this week.
I think
I won't don't give your pick away, but
I do see a win on this schedule. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I do. I do.
I'll take a step further. Do you see multiple?
Mm. Honestly, there's too much ground to make up, and there's too much that has to happen for me to say multiple. But I do see at least
A win.
a win um, moving forward. It's just too much to say multiple wins. I wish I could say that and be confident about it. But the injuries, the up and down play on the line, the up and down play of the quarterbacks, the running backs, it is so much. Defense right now is not as sturdy as they started. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
so there's just so much special teams. It's just so much, and it's unfortunate, to be honest with you, but it's expected because of where we are right now in the current state of college football, and you're trying to get this maturation with 70 plus, 80 plus new players, all of that stuff, which everybody else is going through. Let me be mindful that everybody else is going through it. That's the landscape of college football. But for this exercise, I don't know if I can comfortably say I see multiple, but I do see one. You don't even see one.
It's tough, man. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and look at these last 4 games, really just since you got into Big 12 play, and it's not been competitive. I mean, the BYU game, the score wise it was, but it really never felt like you were truly in that thing. So, like you said, you're going to have to close the gap, and not only you're going to have to do that yourself, but you're probably also going to have a lot of luck too. Like you're going to have the ball bounce your way. You're going to have maybe some injury luck go your way for the other team. Maybe have a couple of key players out. I mean, I really hate to sound that down and out, but uh, you know, I guess I'll try to remain optimistic here, and I'll say yes, there may be a win. So I'll lean to the over. I'm not holding my breath on it, but the fact of the matter is this team has not played a complete game of football. Hell, I don't even know if they played a complete half of football yet. I mean, their best game is still out there for them to go get.
Right.
And with all of these seniors on this roster, I mean, I don't want to say that they don't that I can't see them going 2-10 because it's possible, but you would figure that they would want to find a way to scratch and claw their way to victory at least one more time instead of ripping off all these losses to end the year. So I say there's probably one more winnable game out there. I'm not going to reveal which one it is. You probably know what I'm talking about, but
Right.
if they
I
can
think you
get that one, if they can get that one, then yeah, I think that's certainly possible. So last one here is
Mhm.
key pieces added onto the young core that West Virginia can build forward with next year. And that's not counting Cam Vaughn, not counting Jaheim White, and I'm even going to throw in Curtis Jones into the mix,
Right.
who's really showed a lot of bright things at the bandit spot. So remove those three guys. Over under 2.5 guys down these last stretch of games here that you feel like are going to be key pieces moving forward, as in could be starters or high end contributors next year. 2.5, and if they're over 2.5, who you got?
And it's funny you say that. Um, no, outside of the three studs that you just named, I'm gonna tell you something. And this is okay. Yeah, it's hyperbolic what I'm about to say. Um, this is going to be another cycle of going into the portal, going into living rooms and high school recruiting, and really overhauling what you currently have on this roster. And you know why? Because if you had the pieces that you needed to run this particular offense that Rich loves to run, it
The
would
number
look
would be
better.
probably a lot different than 2.5.
Okay, so it will be better already. And you would have saw that maturation from fall camp through the season right now, through the 6 or 7 games. You'd have seen the maturation with whoever that may be, group of linemen, backs, receivers on the defensive side, defensive linemen, linebackers, DBs. You would have seen that already. So the mere fact that you have not seen that maturation tells you that that particular spark is not already on the roster.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go and get it, right? So, nah. And I'm going to tell you this, and I'm okay. Because I think West Virginia will be in a prime position to really get their hooks into some studs in the portal and some studs at the high school level. I really believe you will start to see the overflow change of what Rich wants to do offensively in terms of getting the type of offensive lineman that you need to compete and be consistent, and backs, receivers, quarterbacks, plural, defensively, more DBs. I mean, really, not maybe 70 freaking new players, but an overhaul in those positions to really put West Virginia back on the map and be competitive next season and then moving forward. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be a chunky number. It's not going to be the 80 plus new players they have this year, but it's still going to be much larger than probably
Yeah.
anybody would like. But that's just where the program is right now. You got to kind of year over year that number is going to continue to shrink, and as that number shrinks, you're going to get probably better talent because you can spend more money. Every time your list of needs grows, you're spreading your money out way too thin. So when that list
Yeah.
shrinks, hey,
That
may get
exactly.
rain on a couple on a couple
Exactly.
people in the portal. So I'll take the easy way out here. I'm going to say
Mhm.
yes and no, and the reason I say that is because I don't want to be wrong. But no, I think there's a couple of guys I'm intrigued by. Nick Taylor, the safety, defensive back. I thought he showed a lot of really good things against Utah. We really haven't seen much of him since.
Right.
Don't know why, but if he comes back and starts playing well down the stretch, I'd count him as one. Keyshawn Robinson, the cornerback, is another guy that I'm kind of keeping a close eye on. He's been really good on special teams. He's done some decent things when he's got some chances, but not a lot of them.
Mhm.
So we'll see about him. And then I'd say Dior Hubbard. He's got a chance. He needs some help from his big fellas. Okay, but I think he can be a guy. I just don't think that we're going to know that by the end of this season. So that's why I'm kind of caught in the middle here. Does he make it? Yes, and it's an over for me or not. So I'm going to say it's like right at the 2.5 mark, which is not good. You want that thing to be a lot higher. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
who knows? But we'll see. Maybe one of those guys establishes himself this weekend. Potentially, I'm throwing a little hint out there. Maybe one of my players to watch this week is maybe one of those guys that could be a key piece. So
Hold on. I'm gonna throw something out here real quick. I'm
yeah.
gonna throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in there. I'm not gonna mention no names. I'm just gonna throw a size out here. So let me tell you something. I got my eye on somebody right now, right? That he's a year away, right? How does 6'4", 350 sound for you, right? Athletic, offensive lineman, that's a stud. Now we're gonna get him down to about
330, 335.
Yeah, we're gonna get him down. Yeah. And he will probably be prime for the picking. The year. Yeah. So and yeah, I'm not gonna put no names out there. I'm just gonna put that out there for you to chew on a little bit. Absolutely. And yes, he can play in this system because even at the size he is now, he can scoot, he can move people, and he's athletic, big, sexy, athletic.
Maybe one of those guys that Rich says a couple cheeseburgers shy of X amount of pounds.
Yeah, I'm going to put that out there because I think he's going to be really interesting here within the next few months to year. I can see that happening. And if I got anything to say about it, I can definitely, I would love to point him. I think he would look good with that flying WV on his helmet.
Gotta love it. So, all right, let's go and do our trivia question. We'll ask it and then we'll get to our break here and get into our preview. And that is WVU faced and beat TCU in Rich Rodriguez's last game as a Mountaineer player all the way back in 1984. I shouldn't say all the way back. That's a little disrespectful, right? I mean, that's not too far off from Eugene. So
yeah,
back in 1984, I'll rephrase that. What was the name of that bowl game between West Virginia and the Horned Frogs? Was it the Hall of Fame Classic, the Peach Bowl, or the Blue Bonnet Bowl? Think on it for just about a minute or so. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get the answer, our players to watch, Nap Dynamite, and all that and more here on the Walk Thru GameDay Show.
Let's go, Mountaineer Nation. The final whistle might blow, but the real breakdown is just getting started. Join us right after every WVU game for the Mountaineer Postgame Show. Instant analysis, real talk, and zero fluff. What went right, what went wrong, and what's next. We've got it all for you. Hit subscribe, turn on the notifications, and be part of the conversation. Win, lose, or draw, we're breaking it all down for you, Mountaineer style.
Want the most accurate updates on the West Virginia Mountaineers? Visit West Virginia on SI, the most trusted source on everything WVU. Several stories published every morning, every day before your feet hit the ground. From football, basketball, baseball, recruiting, transfer portal news, and more, we have it all for you. Every angle, every update, every morning. Welcome back to the Walk Thru GameDay Show. I'm Schuyler, Callihan. That is Eugene, Napoleon, and now we get our answer for our trivia question of the week. And we asked before the break, WVU faced and beat TCU in Rich Rod's last game as a Mountaineer player back in 1984. What was the name of the bowl game? The Hall of Fame Classic, the Peach Bowl, or the Blue Bonnet Bowl? And Eugene, you told me before, I must not have done my research too well on this one because I may have may have just probably didn't put enough effort into it because you said it was too easy. I put it on a T for you. So what is it?
Yeah, the Blue Bonnet Bowl. See.
Okay, you're right. You're back on track. I think I stumped you last week, so
You did.
got to get you a nice little silver platter there for you, and then we'll get you all greased up thinking you all got it down, and then next week I'm going to make it really tough for you. So,
Okay.
there it is. The Blue Bonnet Bowl. West Virginia won the game 31-14. I tried to find some stats on it, and I don't know if I was looking in the wrong area or not, but as I told Gene before, it's like trying to find a game from 1895 for some reason. But, yeah, West Virginia 31-14, Rich Rod's last game against the TCU Horned Frogs, and that was your thing. So, all right, go ahead and get your Napoleon's Dynamite, your player to watch for the Mountaineers this week. Who we keeping our eyes on, Gene?
I want to listen. I'm going to go defense again, and I really believe he's going to have to play well. So Jason Chambers is my guy. We need a big game, man. We need a lockup. We need a lockup type game. What's your term? Sticky. He's sticky, yeah, on these receivers. You really do need that because if not, I do not want TCU throwing the ball all over the lot, so to speak. So yeah,
and they will.
Mr. Chambers, I need you to come to play.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, and that probably would have been one of my picks if I had to go with the defense. It would have been one of those guys in the secondary after the last few weeks, all these explosive plays. So the rest of our players to watch. Oh, speaking of those big sexes, Gene, I'm going with Donovan Haslam here.
Okay.
And again, it's not confirmed that he's going to start, but Rich Rod kind of hinted at it earlier this week that some of those guys that have been key backups have not got an opportunity to start, may get that opportunity this week if they perform well in practice. So I've got my eyes on Donovan Haslam and potentially starting at one of the guard spots. The big dude, 350 plus pounds, maybe actually he's way over 350. But yeah, I think he's got a chance to show us something down the stretch. Maybe he becomes one of those key pieces moving forward. And for TCU, you could have your pick with who you want on the offensive side. They got a lot of playmakers. I'm going with Eric McAllister. He's averaging 21.5 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns. He is their leading receiver. And defensively, I'm going with Bud Clark, 31 tackles, 5 PBUs, 2 interceptions. And I got a little kind of confirmation on that pick too, because I already knew that that's who I was going to pick. And then Rich Rod said today, or maybe it was during his radio show, that Bud Clark's an NFL player. So I'm like, okay, maybe I do know a little ball here. Maybe I do. So Bud Clark, Eric McAllister for TCU. And that's where we'll start, is with the TCU offense in this game preview, Gene. And you look at some of their numbers, and it's kind of, when you look at it, it's a bad matchup for West Virginia. The secondary has had a ton of issues, and this TCU offense can give them a ton of fits. Josh Hoover, one of the best quarterbacks in the country that nobody talks about or nobody knows, but so far this season, completing passes at a 65.4% clip, 21 tuds to 6 interceptions. He's a little turnover worthy. When you look at some of his numbers here, and we'll just go ahead and get into him here quickly. 14 turnover-worthy throws this year to 16 big-time throws. So it's a lot of boom or bust with their pass game, and it's kind of the same way on the defensive side for them, at least from what I've been able to see. But Josh Hoover, a breakdown, looking at one of his areas that kind of stood out to me was that 5 of his 6 interceptions this season have been when he was kept clean in the pocket. So even when he's got all the time in the world to throw, sometimes he can make a boneheaded decision. He can make a throw into a tight window, or he tries to force something in there. So, look, they're going to sit back and rip it a bunch. This is a group that's not been able to really get the run game going the way they'd like. It's starting to come along, but it all starts and ends with Josh Hoover here, Gene.
Yeah. He's tough. I've watched TCU this year, and I'm going to tell you, I'll be honest with you, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with what I see because, once again, they are a well-coached bunch. But to your point, they're big player bust.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because as much as he is I like to say he's a proficient passer when he's on point, right? He can make every throw. He can
Oh,
make
yeah.
every throw.
That ball shoots out of his hand, too. Really, really good velocity.
He does have arm talent, that's for sure. And what I hope for is with that arm talent that he has a few miscues on Saturday. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. Because you
Yeah.
don't want him sitting back there patting the ball and reading and all of that. No, we don't want all of that. But he is a very, very capable passer, and he's sneaky, athletic. So you can make him. He can do some things in the run game with his legs if he has to.
Yeah, there was one touchdown pass that he had against Baylor. It was in the red zone last week where he did a really good job of kind of fooling the safety, manipulating the safety with his eyes, trying to pull him away from where the tight end was going. And DJ Rogers just hit his head on the goalpost, essentially just put it right there for him to make the catch. Beautiful throw. He does a lot of that. He can move the secondary with his eyes. And that's the one thing that I think – maybe the casual fan doesn't realize the difference between a seasoned, experienced quarterback and maybe what you're seeing with the two young pups that West Virginia has. The guys on the West Virginia side, and we'll get to them here in a sec, but they're just trying to understand where to go with the football, right? That's all they're worried about. And sometimes, like Rich has said, they're more focused on watching the receivers and where they're going to be. Where when you get older, you realize you shouldn't be watching your receivers. You should be watching the defense. You should know where your receivers are going to be. That's what Josh Hoover is doing. He knows where his guys are going to be at. He trusts them to go make plays and trusts them to be where they're supposed to be. What he's doing is pulling those safeties away from where he's trying to go with the football. He does that a bunch, and he's not going to run it a lot. Probably not a. He's probably a little bit more athletic than he's given credit for, but he's definitely not going to be someone that's going to carve you up on the ground with his legs like recent weeks we've seen in quarterbacks.
Right.
Now, he does have a couple of really good dynamic receivers to throw to, and Jordan Dwyer and Eric McAllister I already touched on. I mean, both those guys are pretty good size, physical. They're long. They hit the home run ball. It's going to be a tough matchup for West Virginia, especially if they don't have Fred Perry. Fred Perry is questionable this week. I know he's not going to be mano-a-mano on those guys, but he's going to have his hands in that pass game as well. How do you go about covering two of these dynamic guys when you're going through these little spells that West Virginia, I shouldn't say little, there are massive issues right now that they're going through. What do you do to contain two of them?
And it's tough. So we have to get pressure up front. You have to get home. And even if you don't get home, you have to put, enough simulated pressure to move this quarterback off his spot. You got to make him a little bit more uncomfortable because, again, to let his arm talent is elite enough to if you let him sit back there, he will carve you apart, and that's not what we want. So that's, to me, that'd be the first inkling. Let's apply some pressure, right? Honestly, Schuyler, let's disguise what we're doing in the back end, man.
Yeah.
Let's disguise what we're doing in the back end. Let's help out where need be. I don't want to put it out here just in case they are watching,
Are they taking down notes from Gene?
But I'm going to say this. Can we get some help over the top?
I mean, a couple of those huge explosive plays against UCF, it was just a simple factor of the deep safety not being there. And I think it was the second touchdown where there was no safety there. And I don't know what happened on that play. It was a busted coverage somehow.
It's a busted coverage, but here's the point of reference as well. You know that man off can look like man, that you can disguise it and now it becomes zone.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to put too much more out there. But when you're playing against talented receivers, you're playing against big receivers that can actually run, and they run really good routes. Like I said, I watched TCU a few times this year, and I was very impressed with how they get in and out of their routes. Some of their stems, when they are coming off the ball, the line of scrimmage, it looks the same, but then it turns into something different. So you know that they're being coached up really, really well. And that can be confusing for young DBs, especially corners, right? When you
Yeah, for
still
sure.
it looks the same, but it's something different. Yeah, that can be confusing. So getting the help over the top in the back end is really what you need, and some pressure up front to really throw them off their game. I'm hoping we can do that because again, if not, it can be a long, long day on Saturday if we don't do these things.
1000%. And with that pass game, I think you think the big play, the explosive, and you just think they chuck it deep all the time. That's not really the case. They only throw it deep 12% of the time. Uh,
Right.
60 or no, 60, 39% of the time, almost 40% of the time, Hoover's throwing the ball beneath the sticks. And McAllister, Dwyer,
Okay.
their other receivers, the tight end Rogers, they're making plays happen after the catch. And again, it's a little concerning considering how poorly West Virginia is tackled. They're getting there. They're one of the fastest teams in the country. We've talked about this a couple of times now. They're one of the fastest teams in the country getting to the ball, but they're just not finishing the play. That's got to happen this week if you want a chance. If not, those guys are going to make you look silly. So
Right.
quickly on the run game, Kavorian Barnes, he's their lead back. He's kind of a bruiser, not huge in terms of height. He's kind of short in stature, but he's a thick kid. He's not going to run away from you. He seeks out contact. He's going to try to run through you. But he's somebody I think they can, if they can get going and getting to, just 90 yards a game, that offense is going to be a challenge to stop for everybody that's left on their schedule because they throw it, as we mentioned, just about as good as anybody in the country. You got to
That's
get a
right.
little bit of a version of a run game. That was my big concern with them going into the year, and it's turned out to be true thus far. But Trent Battle, he's their twitchy back. He's averaging over 7 yards a carry, but only has 33 touches. So somebody they may try to work in a little bit more here, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and flip it over to the West Virginia offense and TCU defense. And Gene, there's some things to like here. You might kind of salivate a little bit, but then you got to remember West Virginia doesn't have a passing game. So that's going to be the issue that they've got to get across. But TCU is 110th
Yeah.
nationally against the pass, allowing 251 yards a game. Folks, that's worse than West Virginia. They are
Yes.
worse against the pass than WVU. But as I mentioned, you don't really have a passing game. So how do you figure that out? How do you get the pass game going this week? Assuming it will be Scotty Fox, because all signs are pointing that way. What
Mhm.
can you do to get him going and feeling himself early on?
Listen, again, easy completions early to get his feet settled a little bit, have him feel a little bit more comfortable in the passing game. I don't know if that's, breaking down some screens. I don't know if that's some intermediate routes, but really high percentage completions early, get him in a rhythm, and hopefully we can go from there. I would love to see Cam have a breakout game. I want to see Cam Vaughn have a multi-touch game because I think if that happens, you can then open up some spaces for your tight end, for our tight ends. You can open up some spaces for some of the other receivers that we have. And I haven't seen that. And I think the reason why we haven't seen that, obviously, it's the inconsistent play at quarterback as much as it is the inconsistent play on the line. But if we can get our young buck to settle down and feel comfortable in the passing game by giving us some easy completions, I think that's going to go a long way for his confidence in this game.
Yeah, I think it's got to get out. Getting it out quick too is going to be huge because one, you're compensating for the bad offensive line, and TCU can get after you. They have a pretty good pass rush themselves, so that's not going to be fun to deal with as well. But they, I feel like last week, and maybe it was just the way the game was going, they couldn't figure out anything really offensively, anyways. But it just seems like they give up on the pass way too early. And I understand that's Rich's identity is to hammer the run game. You want to find success there. If you don't run it well or you don't have success on the ground, you're probably not going to have a lot of success overall as an offense under Rich Rod. But still, you've got to find a way, even if it's just quick slants to some bubbles. I mean, we've talked about this for several weeks now, but just quick stuff that's going to get the ball out of Scotty's hands fast to where he's not thinking. He doesn't have to go through progressions for very long. He doesn't have to hope that the protection up front can hold up for 3 seconds, because it's probably not more often than not. But I feel like they just give up way too early on the pass, and in some situations, you just become way too predictable. I mean, there's even, second and 12 or second and 10 situations where they're just running the ball, and everybody in the stadium knows it. Like, and then you're in 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9, and guess what? They still run the damn ball. Like, I get you have limitations. You don't have an offensive line you can trust. You probably don't get the separation that you would like at receiver as consistently as you would like. You have 2 young quarterbacks that are still trying to figure things out. I get the limitations, but that you just can't completely abandon the pass game.
You can't. And I think, in to your point, unfortunately, when you do that, you're playing right into the defense's hands, obviously, but other teams know that. When they scout, when you break down scouting reports, they know that. If we do this, we pretty much know what they're going to do, what the count is going to be.
Gene, let's be real here. Let's play another over under here. Over under 2.5 minutes of passing game film that opposing teams watch of West Virginia every week. It's probably an under because there's not much of it to get to that 2.5 minute mark. But you don't have to worry about it. I mean, they are so consumed, and rightfully so, with just, hey, let's just stop the run. And if you eliminate that, they have no chance.
You got to go back to the Pitt game. You really have to go back to the Pitt film if you want to see a steady diet of being able to throw the ball just enough to open up that running game. I haven't seen that since, to be honest with you. And again, to be fair, we've had some injuries. Obviously, up front wasn't playing too well. After that Pitt game, it went south. But we are way too predictable. And you can't be that predictable moving forward with the games that we have left on this schedule and expect to win many games. And that's part of the problem. When your offense becomes stagnant and this is your identity, but even that identity is not working, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Houston, there's a problem. And I'm very concerned about that, because you can't. I mean, because that puts more pressure on everybody. I'm sure if the offense was 60-40, right? Even at this stage in the game, if it was 60-40, where your running game is really clicking at about 60%, whatever, and you can throw the ball well enough to keep the defense honest, I would probably have a different feel about the remaining part of our schedule than I do.
Yeah.
But because that's not the case, it's like predictability is like 80-20. It's like, wow, you really put a lot of pressure on your offense. And here's the other caveat to that. Because everything is so fast, you're 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out rather quickly. So what does that do for your defense? They get no
round
rest.
them up. Come on,
That's
dude.
You get no rest. So yeah. I'm hoping we can change some of that against TCU and then moving forward as well. And let's see if we can.
And the thing with the pass game too, and I mean, you want to get the fast stuff going, but you also have to challenge their secondary at some point. I'm not suggesting you take 5 shots deep down the field, but it's got to be, some stuff near the sticks. If it's 3rd and 10, it can't be a screen pass. It can't be a bubble on 3rd and 10. It can't be, a quick hitch route. I mean, I can't tell you how many times. I mean, unless I'm just seeing it wrong, which is entirely possible. I mean, I got the TV copy, so I'm not getting the coach's cut. But like, it seems like there's way too many hitches that are short of the sticks on 3rd downs or 2nd down that get you in 3rd and long situations rather than 3rd and manageable. Like, you got to challenge the defense a little bit. If not, they're just going to spill all their resources to the box and say, dare you to throw it. Dare you to throw the ball down the field. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to
You
stray
gotta
away
take
from
some
what they want to
shots.
do.
You got to take some shots. I agree. Because if you do that, listen, at least you take some shots early. At least it'll make the D coordinator say, whoa, okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, it's going to be that kind of game. Okay, now we're going to have to switch up what we want to do because that goes against what we scouted. Our scouting report said this, but they came out winging it. Even if you don't connect, just the mere fact that they see that you're going to take some shots down the field, I think changes the perspective on a coordinator's opinion as to what they were going to do based on what they saw in their scouting report. You got to take shots down.
Yeah. And with Scotty, I think he's more capable. And this is not a knock at Khalil. I just think that part of his game is still an area where he's got a lot of room to improve. But we've seen some deep shots from some Scotty at times, particularly the BYU game where he hit Cam Vaughn and stride for 30 yards. I mean, that was a zero. I'm pretty sure it was an all-out blitz. Zero, and he saw that the pressure was coming. He recognized it, got rid of the ball, put it on the money, and there you go, touchdown. Like that's possible with Scotty Fox. So I think that's a little bit different with Khalil Wilkins in the game. But look, TCU. I mean, this is a get right game for one of these aspects, either West Virginia's passing attack or TCU's secondary. Someone's going to get right in this game. And maybe not spill it over to the rest of the games, but it's going to be an opportunity to get a good taste in your mouth finally. Because
Right.
you look at TCU secondary. I mean, I talked about Bud Clark, Jamel Johnson, Channing Canada, Vernon Glover, Austin Jordan. I mean, those guys are way better than what they have performed so far this season. That I did not think this TCU secondary would be as bad as it's been. So now I shouldn't say they've been terrible, because they have come up with some interceptions. As a matter of fact, they're fourth nationally, this TCU defense is, in takeaways. So they're going to make plays on the ball. They're going to be a little aggressive. And sometimes that comes back to bite them, and it turns into the big yards that you see that they give up in the pass game. So final key here for you, for West Virginia offensively against this TCU defense.
I think if we can get anywhere close to a running game going, obviously it'll help Scotty Fox, as a QB to have some semblance of a running game. And if we can get, and I know this is asking a lot. I before I even say it, I know it's asking a lot. If we can get remotely
700 yards passing. No, I'm just kidding.
If we get remotely close to getting towards 100 yards on the ground, I think that really changes a lot of what we can do moving the ball in the air. I really do, because I just think it opens up some passing lanes. I think it opens up taking a few deep shots. I think it opens up some quick slants. I think it opens up some 15 to 18 to 16 yard over routes. I think it opens up some of these things. Now, unfortunately, conversely, if you don't get a running game going or anything close to it, then like you said, you make it that much more difficult for us to move the football and do some things that'll be much needed against this TCU's defense.
Gene, I'm going right down here through conference play. And here are your passing totals. Again, I understand the limitations. 120. This is your leading passers, because we know they play multiple quarterbacks. Against Kansas, 126. Against Utah, 63. Against BYU, 81. And UCF, 47.
All right.
3 of your 4 conference games, you have not even eclipsed 81 yards passing. You've got to get to at least 100, right? I mean, you'd love to get to 200, but I think that's a stretch. But you got to get a little bit more than 81 yards passing in a Big 12 game.
Yeah. Well, you know what's so interesting about that? I'm not even going to ask you, because I can play these games back in my head and answer my own question about the total of what you're getting on the ground. Because if you're getting that in the air, I could only imagine what we're getting on the ground. So therefore, we won't even go there. I agree.
It's actually you're probably around the top 4 or 5 of the Big 12 in rushing, but you got to move the ball somehow. So that's what we mentioned maybe last week or 2 weeks ago about those empty calorie type of, stats
Yes.
where, yeah, you're rushing for, 200 or close to 200 yards per game, but does it really matter if you're not throwing it enough?
So what? Okay, so I guess here's my point of reference in terms of how consistent do you think we have to be with the ball on the
Mm.
ground compared to balancing your offense in order to win some of these games? How consistent do you think we have to be in both categories, right? The run and the pass. Because if you're only averaging 80 yards in the air,
You better be running for 500.
okay, all right. Okay. That's problematic in this style of offense.
Yeah. You've
In
got to
this style,
have a complementary attack, even in a run heavy system. I don't know that there's a firm number, and maybe this could be an off-season project for me where I can go back and kind of look at, what does West Virginia have to do under Rich Rod, passing the ball wise when they win versus when they lose. Maybe that's something I'll do in the off-season, but I'd probably say if you can get, I mean, this is still lowballing, but if you
right.
can get 150 yards passing and you can run, and I don't want to go for necessarily an actual yardage here because I think I always look at yardage on the ground as a per attempt as being kind of more of a thing because you could run the ball, 200 for 200 yards, but if you ran it 65 times, it wasn't really that efficient. But
Absolutely. I
if
agree.
you're looking at a 5.5 to 6 yards per carry consistently, I think you've got a chance. But you're still gonna that still involves the defense playing not maybe not lights out, but much better than what they've been. So you're gonna have to drag some teams into rock fights. This offense is just not built to go back and forth with teams, especially this TCU one. Like this is a game where that run game is going to have to maybe play a little clock control, which is hard to do when you have tempo. But if you can get them on the field and keep them on the field, and
You may
and
have a shot.
you may have a shot. But
I hate to go back to this. I'll say this real quick.
go for it.
If you look at what Jack State put up last year, 5 plus,
Mm-hmm.
5 plus. Okay. In this style of offense, and I'll say in the Big 12, you need to be at 460 plus. Because, and the reason why I say that, the defenses are a lot better. Let me just be clear, right? So you got 460 plus, 480, somewhere in that range with this style of offense. If you want to win 7 to 8 games or more, that's what you have to average. That's what you have to average because that's going to equate to what you're doing to the opposing team's defense.
Yeah.
That's going to equate to some big plays on the ground and in the air. So between 460 to 480 plus, averaging in offense, your output, that's going to give you multiple wins.
Yeah, and again, this is a perfect opportunity to again maybe not get right, but to get a good taste in your mouth after all of these weeks where you've struggled in the past game. So it
Yep.
appears Scotty Fox is going to get the start. It's not been official yet. Khalil again he's probably going to be out. Rich said he's probably not going to be able to practice all week and may just try to get ready to be in a emergency situation. Max Brown, maybe if he's healthy, he'll get an opportunity. And then they even said that walk on Scotty Keene, the redshirt junior, who's been around the program for a handful of years now. He may get a few reps this week just because that's how thin they are at that quarterback spot. So it's pretty wide open. We'll see, but it seems like it'll be Scotty Fox. Just a couple more notes here on TCU's defense that make you feel at least a little bit good going into this game. They rank 101st nationally in third down defense at 42%. They're also not great in the red zone, 96th nationally at 88% allowed. So some things to chew on there for the next few days as we get into this game. But you're gonna have to bring your A game, and you just got to hope this thing doesn't get into a shootout because if this thing is in the 30s, game over, Gene. Like I don't. You're not gonna win this game scoring 30-plus points. You got to drag them into a rock fight. Your defense has got to play the best they've played in a long time, and just hope that you have enough firepower on offense. Maybe a couple of things happen, go your way, and all of a sudden you look up in the fourth quarter and it's a ball game, you know?
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
All right, let's go ahead and round out our show, as always, with our weekly pick'ems. And 2 and 3 for me last week. It's been par for the course. Gene, 3 for 2. Or 3 and 2 last week. You got the right winner in the Holy War, and that was the difference maker. So you are 17 and 18 on the year. I'm 14 and 21. Basically, what we're trying to tell you is don't trust what we're going to tell you. So let's go. Start with some American. We're going to give a little love to the AAC here with number 18 USF at Memphis, 12 o'clock noon on ESPN2. I love Alex Golesh. I love that offense that they have. Byron Brown, the quarterback, is really fun to watch. Memphis lost last week. Interesting little nugget here to UAB and Ryder Burton. If that name sounds familiar, he was a backup quarterback here last year for West Virginia, getting his first career start for the UAB Blazers, and they upset Memphis at Memphis. So this is an opportunity for Memphis to bounce back against a pretty good USF team. They're going to be pissed off, Gene, but I don't know that it's going to be quite enough to hang with this USF offense. I'm going with the Bulls.
No, I'm with you right away. I mean, I circled that immediately. They can be pissed off. I'm not going to say the slogan behind that, but if anybody that knows what the rest of that is, you can be pissed off. It is better to be. I'll leave it at that. You can go look it up. This is a family show. So, yeah, man, I'm going with the Bulls as well.
All right, we'll go dancing in the SEC for a couple here, and then we'll get into the Big 12. Top 15 matchup, number 8 Ole Miss and number 13 Oklahoma, also at noon. And I'm going to go with Oklahoma here. Just something, I don't know why. I mean, Ole Miss has got a good team. Again, I'm a little concerned about what they can do offensively. They've been putting up points. They've been moving the ball regardless of who's a quarterback. But anytime you take that thing on the road, into the prairie, look, John Mateer hasn't played great since he's come back. I think this is a great opportunity for him to do that. So I'll go with Boomer Sooner here.
Interesting. You know what? Here's where we differ.
Hey.
Here's hey, look, I opened the door for you. Here's an opportunity for you, right, to get one up. So now I'm going to go with Ole Miss, man. I just think that there's something about Oklahoma that every now and again they stub their own toe.
Mm-hmm. They sure do.
Yeah. I think this will be one of them weekends. So I'm going with Ole Miss.
Number 15, Missouri at number 10, Vandy, 3:30 on ESPN. And I've been a little back and forth on this one because I really want Vanderbilt to just keep running. I think it's a neat story. I'm always rooting for those non-blue blood programs that haven't had a lot of success. Vandy sure as hell hasn't had much of it. But, I think I'm going to go with Mizzou here. I think on the road, I don't think it matters. Bo Previla is going to put up a good game. And Vanderbilt, even though I respect what they're building and what they've done, I still think they're in that maturation process where they're not quite there to hang with the heavy hitters every single week. They're going to have a couple of bounce back to earth, and I think this is one of them.
Man, here we go again. Wow. I done blew the door. I left the door crack.
Okay.
Vandy, man. Vandy.
Rolling with the doors, huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. I like it so far. This could be interesting, Schuyler.
Yeah.
This could be the week that you start clawing yourself back out of that rabbit hole. Okay.
Or I keep digging a damn 8-foot hole. So that's also very possible. Probably the likely outcome. So skedaddling on over to the Big 12. We've got number 11 BYU at Iowa State, 3:30 on Fox. Iowa State, unranked Iowa State, is actually favored in this game. And you know what? I think that Vegas is probably right. There's a reason why they build those big buildings in the desert. And, I think Iowa State, they were able to sit on a couple of losses. They lost to Cincinnati, lost to Colorado. Bye week, they're back, refreshed, ready to roll. BYU coming off that emotional win over Utah in the rivalry game. Bad spot for BYU here to go on the road. I think Iowa State bounces back and gets the upset. Well, I guess the upset in terms of the rankings.
Here we go again.
No way. Okay.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes way. Yes. BYU, man. I circled that immediately. BYU. Go on the road and they get the dub.
You love yourself some Bear Bachmeier, don't you? I like it.
I do. That young man can play.
And for the game that we are all here for, it's the Mountaineers and the Horned Frogs. They'll turn the lights out, and it'll be honoring the Coal Miners of West Virginia in the Coal Rush, the second edition of this game. And West Virginia, TCU will kick things off at 6 p.m. on ESPN+. Here's Rich Rodriguez on this week's matchup.
It was a terrible game. We played awful, and you got to flush it away, but you also got to learn from it. So I don't. There's things in that game that are unacceptable that we've got to fix, and I think our guys are conscientious enough to know that, even though it's the first year and you're still, I guess, trying to build the kind of culture you want. Coal mining and the coal mining industry in the state of West Virginia is part of the fabric of who we are and what the state is all about. And me, like when we start, or our players or anybody start to feel, man, this is hard, it's not nearly as hard as going way underground and crawling through there and scraping coal out for a living. That's a hard job.
All right, Gene, West Virginia, TCU, Coal Rush edition. Last year, the Coal Rush didn't get off to actually went off to a decent start, and then things kind of unfolded, and Iowa State ran away with that one, but that's neither here or there. Yeah, look, I love this opportunity again. When we go back to the get-right opportunity for the pass game, it makes sense. But more often than not, I'm probably going to lean towards a more veteran secondary versus a true freshman quarterback. I also see what West Virginia's defense did allow last week, explosive play-wise. Josh Hoover and this TCU offense, that's what they're known for. It just seems like this thing could potentially get ugly, just like these last four have. So, yeah, going to roll with the Horned Frogs here, spoiling the Coal Rush.
Well, here we go again. I'm going to tell you.
No way.
I'm only messing with you. I agree with you. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I just think West Virginia right now, they have too much to work on in too short of a time to do that. And I think TCU is more of a complete team right now. And unfortunately, I got to go against my Mountaineers. And I hate to do that, but I'm just being a realist. We have too much to work on, too much ground to make up. So unfortunately, I'm going with the Horned Frogs.
Well, there you have it, folks. TCU is our pick for this week. Make sure you put your picks, all 5 of them, in the comments section here on YouTube. If you're watching on the site, go over to West Virginia on SI. Drop your picks, and while you're there, give us a like and hit that subscribe button here on our page. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll be off until game day. So we will recap the action on the Mountaineer Postgame Show right here on the channel. Eugene and I will break down the matchup and what went right, what went wrong, and everything in between. So that'll do it for us here today and this week on the Walk Thru GameDay Show. For Eugene, Napoleon, I'm Schuyler Callihan. We thank you guys for tuning in to another week, and we'll see you on Saturday on the Mountaineer Postgame Show.